It's Friday again. Thank goodness. I don't know about you, but I really need this weekend. I'm really excited for it. And while it was fun to race last weekend, I'm excited to maybe not have a race this weekend. But if you're racing, really good luck, and I hope you go have some great results out there. Wanted to remind you, in a half an hour, we got Dave Miner coming up again in our Superfly community. It's free. You just have to register, so I'm trying to give you a half an hour heads up. Get in there, register. I'll tell our admin to start approving people so that you can see the free swim video that Dave will be doing in about 30 minutes. So head on over, Superfly Triathlete Community. It's a free Facebook group. We're doing more and more videos in there, totally free. I know a lot of people used to tune in here for tips, so while we're transitioning more and more over there, I'm still trying to give a few tips here as well too. One of the things that I would really encourage you to work on, and one of the things that we've been talking with our coaches about for the last couple of weeks, is we're helping them prepare their athletes for maximizing their fitness going into these races that are now starting to come up, is now's the time to really make sure you're dialing in economy, getting free speed, really capitalizing on all of that fitness that you've been building for the past several months. One of the things that gets largely ignored is descending and cornering, and it can make an enormous difference in your performance and output. I know that I ride with some athletes that are very, very strong, but every time we go through a turn, I have to look back for them and they're literally 10, 20 yards behind because they just don't corner very well. I know personally, I used to be really nervous about races that had descents because it can be really scary to go down descents, especially if you don't live by one. So, or I've had athletes ask me, hey, how do you deal with the speed wobble? You know, when your bike is really starting to wobble and shake, right? So those are the types of questions that come up that honestly you have to kind of get out there and practice to get through. Here are my tips on, let's start with descending. I'll go in reverse order. If you're nervous about descending, my recommendation to you is the way you become better at descending is the very first thing you need to make sure is you do not go faster than you're comfortable with, because if you do, psychologically you're going to get tense and you're going to have more barriers around becoming comfortable descending than if you just work up to that point that you're comfortable and stay there. If you do that, eventually you'll start to find that you get more and more comfortable, and that will start to expand. If you try to push past that, you're going to tighten up, and that progression is never going to happen. The other thing that I'll tell you on descending is your speed is really not relevant. Focus on feeling in control of the bike. As long as you feel in control of the bike, the speed is somewhat secondary, right? So I have found, myself included, when I used to be nervous about descending, that I would look at my speed, and sometimes I would even be going less fast, and then I was able to time trial on the flat road. But because I felt like I wasn't in control of my situation, that's what made me feel more nervous on the descent. So ways that I would combat that is, again, staying in your comfort zone, making sure that you do feel in control of your bike. 2, sometimes if you just soft pedal or turn the cranks over a little bit, that'll do 2 things. 1, it'll make you feel like you're kind of controlling your speed a little bit, like when you're on the flat, but it'll also help keep your legs engaged. So if you are on a long descent, it'll make it so that you do have some blood flow versus just having still legs the entire time. Then when you get on the bottom and you're on the flat or whatever, and you have to kind of get them going again, there can be a little transition period there as well. Now, be safe. Always look for cars. Definitely realize that you need to respect that they're bigger than you and nobody needs to get hit. Okay, so seriously, wheel side down is always fastest no matter what. Not even kidding. And we want everybody to be safe. That being said, you want to take the most fluid line that you can think of. So you want to think about, if this was water, what line would this be taking through the descent? And so the water is always going to take the most efficient line. So you try to be really smooth, and you try to stay in control, and you try to just make sure that you're setting up, looking through your turns. I had Eric Turner tell us that another cyclist friend told him, and whenever you're turning and doing that stuff, you want to keep your eyes parallel to the ground. So I'm kind of mimicking that with my head a little bit. That'll help you feel like you're more balanced. So that's kind of bleeds into cornering. For cornering, a really good tip is go to a parking lot, practice making figure eights. Do it at your leisure. Take big, wide, sweeping turns. You know, obviously don't do it in a busy parking lot like on Christmas, during Black Friday, or during Thanksgiving where people are coming in and out, right? But go to a parking lot that has very little or no traffic where you have some space. Maybe drop 2 water bottles and practice going and doing the figure eights around the water bottles. Learn how to start trusting your tires. You have to start learning to trust that they're gonna do their job. You can't be worried about what if, just like you can't be worried about what if I'm going for a run and I step in a pothole, and so you're constantly looking down to make sure you don't step in a pothole when you're running. So could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. If it does, you deal with it, right? But trust at baseline that your tires are gonna do their job. Make sure that you have the right PSI in your tires, because if you go out and you do it with your tires that are too inflated or underinflated, that can affect the performance of the tires. Practice doing the figure eights. As you get more and more comfortable, you can start moving those water bottles in further. When I used to coach the juniors, and we had the 6-time national champions for the women and the men for both team and individuals. And I can tell you that I used to have them do their figure eights inside of 2 parking spaces with other people. So at first it wasn't good, but by the end they got really good. And if you watch people like Ben Canute, he's one of the better bike handlers now on the ITU circuit. So he started out just like us, doing those figure eights, getting comfortable with the bike, feeling what it feels like, feeling the bike slip sometimes, but you're at slow speeds. You can even do it, here's another tip, with your tennis shoes on with no bike shoes. So if you feel like you're gonna slip or you've gotten too aggressive at a slow speed, you can just put your foot down and it's really not a big deal. So practice the turning, and as you get better at it, go ride with better riders. Watch how they turn. Watch how they set up their turns. Watch what their head's doing through the turn. Are they looking ahead, or are they looking straight down, or are they braking hard into the turns, or are they accelerating? Or you want to make sure you're doing things like always having your outside foot down to counterbalance the weight of you leaning in. So if you can master that, you literally can save minutes on a half Ironman or even an Ironman course just by being more efficient, which is huge. How hard would you have to train to get that back if you were going to overcome it? And then the other thing that I'll leave you with, when you come out of the turn and your speed's low, don't over accelerate. So many times I'll look at athlete power files and it's like 800 watts coming out of turns. And if you do courses that have a lot of turns and you're doing that a lot, you're burning a lot of matches where you could have just been more fluid through your turn, been right where you were at with a lot less energy. So have a great weekend. Go check out Dave's videos. I know we're getting a lot of positive feedback. I know Anastasia, you're watching right now. You send in your videos. He's going to be looking through those. We're taking random people who sign on, watching it for free, and are sending in videos. He's dissecting those videos, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Talk to you.